Welcome to the Endurance Horse Podcast, where endurance riders from all across the globe gather, sharing their stories, goals, and progress as they train for and compete in endurance events at every level. So kick off your shoes, pull up a chair, and listen as we gather around the virtual campfire and listen to friends from across the world.
Hello, and welcome to episode 52 of Endurance Horse Podcast. In today's episode, we will hear audio that was sent in to us from 4 riders at the 2021 God's Country Endurance Ride in Coal Creek in Richland, Missouri. This trail is in the Missouri Ozarks and is a lovely combination of riding through pines, hardwood forest, though also it has some gravel roads, fields, and access to a river to cool off your horse. Completion awards are given to all those who finish, and there are also specialty awards such as Best Condition, High Vet Score, and of course, the beloved Turtle Award. It has been a little while since we have had an all-listener audio instead of an interview episode of Endurance Horse Podcast. So sit back, gather around the virtual campfire while we listen in to some adventures from God's Country 2021.
My name is Tamara Thomas. I live in Fulton, Missouri. I'm an equine and human manual therapist, mostly practicing myofascial release. All I ever wanted to do was be with horses for as long as I can remember. When I was about 12, I worked and saved, babysitting and mowing lawns, and got my first horse. It was bareback riding everywhere, as often as I could, every single day in the summer. I would be on my horse riding through the Missouri woods. It wasn't until my early 40s that I had a lesson. My daughter and I took hunter jumper lessons together when she was growing up. It just wasn't for me being in an arena. I came across endurance riding through clients, Lisa and Garrett Ford. They were having me work on their horses. My boyfriend and I ended up helping crew at Tevis for them a couple of times. It was really exciting, and I loved the partnership the riders had with their horse, and especially the care of the horse that was given throughout the rides. The horse was number one. After that, I started training on my daughter's hunter pony and started LDs. I loved it so much I started looking for a horse. Our friends Roger and Amy Ford had Roxy. She is now 14, and I've had her for a couple of years. She was a show horse and spent a lot of time in the arena. It was a big transition for her to move through the woods and have things touching her legs, especially since she was from Tucson. And now she was in Missouri with tall grass and trees down and things like that. She's a really big thinker and watches everything. I believe she actually watches the ribbons on the trail. Sometimes she wants to go the way the trail used to be. She has a fabulous trot, and I'm always learning from her. She's definitely a challenge, and I like that. I recently rode in the God's Country ride. It's really one of my favorites. Since I grew up in Missouri, riding and hiking, it's like being home. The terrain is varied and the landscape is breathtaking. At one point, you are traveling on a bluff and then the river comes into view down below. It's absolutely stunning. The dogwoods were in full bloom and it was like riding through clouds. Most of the day I rode alone, just being a partner with my horse. It was an incredible day. At one point, I missed the token bucket, or at least I thought I missed the token bucket. And I turned and went all the way back halfway through this pasture when I realized the token bucket was really ahead. So I lost all that time, and it stressed me out, period. I just need to learn how to trust myself a little bit better. Anyway, it was a wonderful day. I really felt like I was a partner with my horse. We took care of each other and had a bunch of fun.
Hello, my name is Diana Thiebaud Markworth. I live outside of Warrensburg, Missouri, on a farm that we call Musteño Ridge. Musteño means Mustang in Spanish. Musteño Ridge is the home of about 30 BLM Mustangs. The majority of horses that I ride are Mustangs or Mustang crosses. I started being interested in distance riding back in 1993 when the Mustang I had at the time was a 4-year-old. He was a stallion. We did a 25-mile CTR, and I was hooked, but he was not going to be a horse for endurance. He had a dropped hip, and so he was always had a little bit elevated heart rate and respirations. So I've always been interested in distance riding, just didn't have the horses or the time between life and raising children. Now I'm close to 60. I work nights as a nurse, which gives me daytime hours to ride. So my original Mustang died in 2016. And the next year, I drove to California and picked up a young horse from the same herd. Now he is 5 years old, and he just started his distance riding career. So last month, we did a 10-mile intro, and he did wonderfully. Pulsed down good, handled the trails even in the mud. So last weekend, we rode at God's Country Endurance Ride in Richland, Missouri. On Saturday, it rained, and my young horse, his name is Cruiser, did wonderful. We placed 5th out of 17 horses, and he had all A's on his vet card except for 1 B for upper left quadrant on his gut sounds. Then on Sunday, I rode another Mustang that I've ridden in about 6 limited distance rides. We did 35 miles on her. I have a 15-year-old granddaughter that rides with me occasionally, so my goals for this year is to be able to have my granddaughter ride my Mustang named Justice in a few rides this summer, and I will continue riding Cruiser on 25 milers. So Missouri weather right now is still in the transition period between winter, spring, and summer. Within the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had snow, we've had a lot of rain, and we've had 80-degree weather. So it makes it a little challenging to get the miles in, but I will persevere. That is what endurance riders do. So I am looking forward to doing as many 25s as I can this year on Cruiser and keep Justice in condition for my granddaughter. And my long-term goals, I really want to ride the Tevis on a Mustang. So I do believe in the breed, I know people don't consider them a breed, but I think the qualities that they possess are because of selection of the hardiest, and I believe that a lot of them are capable of doing endurance because of the terrain and the environments that they've grown up in, that only the strongest have survived, which makes them good endurance mounts. So that is my long-term goal for me and Cruiser. If Cruiser turns out to not be the ideal horse for endurance, I do have a mare that's from Antelope Valley, which I know of several Antelope Valley, Nevada Mustangs that are doing endurance. So she will be my backup horse.
Hello, my name is Rebekah Albertson, and I was born and raised in Northwest Arkansas. I have always been interested in horses. I don't remember a time when I wasn't playing with the toys or begging to go on a trail ride, so I was born with the bug. I got into endurance riding actually through a friend of mine who was boarding her horse at the same barn that I was, and I had a Spitfire of a quarter horse Arab mare at the time, and she was like, hey, you wanna try this thing I'm doing called endurance riding? And she's just like, it's basically riding horse fast on a trail, and it's a competition. So I said, yeah, let's try it, and I fell in love. I now have a horse who is a half Arab, half saddlebred gelding. His name is Jericho. He is a very quirky horse. We always say that he is just very sensitive. He goes from loving on you 1 minute to, if he's offended by something, he really, really lets you know. So he is definitely a fun horse, but he's a one-person horse. So he's my boy. I love endurance. I love the people. I love the sport. It's just the environment isn't, we got to win at all cost. It's, to finish is to win. And the people in the OCER region where I'm at are just the absolute best. And they're always willing to help and willing to assist with anything you need, which is just what I love. Like, I can go and ask anybody a question at any point, and they're always willing to help me with anything. I just stayed with endurance just because of the people. It's just been an amazing experience. So the last ride we went to this past weekend was in Richland, Missouri, and it's called God's Country, hosted by manager Cathie Birmingham and some other people who help her manage the ride. And it is absolutely one of my favorite rides in this region. It's beautiful. The trails are so much fun. It's winding through the forests and going up on views where you can see the river, and you actually get to go down to the river, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
My ride, it was super, super muddy because it rained an inch of rain beforehand on Friday night. So we get up and it's still raining and we ride in rivers of water going down the trail. It was wet, it was chilly, but we were there and we were like, you know what? This is endurance. It's not beautiful. It doesn't have to be. You go out and you do your ride. So unfortunately, at the end of the ride, my poor boy, Jericho, came up lame with an abscess. So we did not get completion for the ride, but, he did amazing. It wasn't his fault that he got the abscess. It wasn't anybody's fault. It was just, crummy weather that got us, but he was awesome. He did great the whole day. The most memorable part of the event was just at the end of the ride. I was disappointed that because he and I were going to win the ride. We came in first place, and that was one of a first for us, and it was really exciting. And then we got pulled. So it was kind of a disappointing end to the day. However, Cathie Birmingham, I love her to death. She is one of my favorite people in the OCR region. She's like, it was a hard luck day for you. Come up and get an award. You get to have an award at the end of the day. And so that meant a lot to me because it was I still get the memories of the ride from the award that I was given, and she was gracious enough to allow me to get something, even though I didn't actually get completion for the ride. It was just the weather got us. The last 2 rides we've done, it's been this kind of weather where it poured Friday night. The horses were standing in mud all night, and then we went out and did a hard ride, and that's just the perfect recipe to get an abscess. So he's doing well now, and hopefully in the future we don't get pouring rain the night before because it's not super often for that to happen twice in a row. So it was just unfortunate for us. What went right with the ride, though, was it was so much fun. Jericho was game on. He was like, we are going, we are good. Even with the rain and the mud, he's like, I don't care. He knows his job. He loves his job. And so he didn't know that he got pulled at the end. He didn't know that he didn't get credit. He was like, you know what? I did my job. I came in. And so he got lots of treats and he got pampered because he was an amazing horse the whole day. It was a tough day. I mean, I think 4 out of the 8 50s finished. One person lost a shoe. Another had a horse tighten up in the rear end. The horse got poked in the eye. And then my horse got an abscess. So it was a tough ride. A lot of people were there. A lot of people were there to help. So people who got pulled at the end of the ride, they got assistance from whoever was there to help. So at the end, after the vets were done, I was like, hey, just so if you see anything on my horse, can you let me know? And I had the amazing vets, they came over and looked at my horse, and they were willing to do whatever I needed them to do to make sure he was okay. But luckily, it seems like it was just an abscess. So he was a rock star. It's disappointing that, we didn't get first place. We weren't gunning for that. We were just riding our horses for the ride that we were in. But he came in, and me and my friend Alyssa Daniel, we ended up tying, but the ride managers had asked us not to tie just for award's sake. And so we did rock, paper, scissors at the end just to see, who was going to win the ride just for fun because we didn't really care. And I ended up winning. So I was like, yeah, it's first time that I got a first place. And so Jericho won first place to me. He did amazing. The weather is what it is. And stuff like that happens. Endurance is the best sport that I could ever recommend for horseback riders. It's not for everybody. It's something that you're not in it for the prizes. You're not in it for the recognition. You're in it for, the enduring part of it. God's Country wasn't on Saturday. It wasn't a pretty ride. It was rainy. It was cold. It was muddy. But once you finish, you're like, you know what? We did it. That was a testament to, the strength of the horse and the care of the rider to get their horse through the ride. And so it's not about, I got first place over you. It's about, my horse did really well today, and I'm so proud of that. You ride your horse in the ride that you get, and you try to make sure that your partner is taken care of, because that is the main part of endurance, is you have to take care of your horse. When you do a good job of that, it's the best feeling in the world. Like when you finish a ride and your horse just had an amazing ride and amazing vet scores, and it was just like, this was really a successful day. And even with the abscess, I still feel like it was a successful day because he did amazing all day and he just had the abscess brewing. And so it wasn't that disappointing of a day because he was just amazing and the ride management was amazing and it was great. So yeah, I absolutely love endurance riding. I will stay with it forever. And it's definitely something that brings me a lot of fulfillment and joy, and it's just amazing.
Hello there. My name is Stephanie Knaebel. I am from a little bitty town called Edgar Springs, Missouri. Weather here has not been the greatest lately. It's been kind of rainy and dreary, but I keep on riding because that's, I guess, what endurance people do. We just keep on keeping on. So I haven't really let it affect me a whole lot. I usually ride all year round anyway, unless it's like thundering and lightning or horrible deep snow or whatever, but I ride all the time. It's kind of the way I escape the stresses of the day after I get home from work too.
God's Country has been so much fun. We did it this year, April 24th and 25th. I've competed in it I guess this would have been my third. It's held at Coal Creek Campground in Richland, Missouri, and it is just full of Ozark hills and turns and rocks and gorgeous scenery. This year, the 25 mile that I did on my horse caboose was rainy and yucky and all kinds of mud and water. But thankfully, there was a lot of rock underneath some of that. And so the footing wasn't as bad as it could have been. I mean, granted, there were some slippery spots, but nonetheless, footing was still fairly good. My horse did fabulous because this was his second ride ever. The 35s went out on one loop and the 25s went out on the other. I believe there was 18. We wound up placing fourth, and I got to ride with my friend Cathie. This was kind of special for me, especially since she rode her beautiful blue roan Dakota, and I was riding my almost 6-year-old curly horse Mustang. So that was awesome. We got to come in together. She got to complete in the top 10 too, which was a first for her, which I think that made me just as happy as having my young horse complete. Got to ride with my friend Diana. She was on her 5-year-old BLM. So that was just super fun because we had 3 Mustangs basically riding together, and I don't know, it was a good time. First loop was 14 miles. Like I said, yes, it was slippery, but everything was green, and the wet just made everything look brighter, in my opinion. The dogwoods are in full bloom here in Missouri. The hillside just looked like it was littered with snow-covered trees, but it just looked like there was snow sprinkled all over the hillside where the dogwoods are blooming. And I actually saw a couple deer that morning. And then my second loop, after we went out, I got back in barely after 12 because I stood for BC since I was able to, and we got 4th place in BC as well. Caboose, he did really good on all of his criteria. His gut sounds were at B's because I couldn't get him to eat much on the trail. I tried, but he was loving what he was doing, and he just didn't want to. He drank really well, but he just didn't want to eat. He wanted to go. Then we went back out on our second loop. We got to see the river and all these just gorgeous fields. I love the views that we had from the bluffs that we were up on, and then some of the trail was on over the road, the gravel road we were on, and so it was really fun to be able to move out real quick. And Caboose has got the easiest, smoothest lope ever. It's just like riding on a cloud, in my personal opinion. Got to the river, let him play in the river and cool off, sponge him off. He ate some grass. He actually decided to listen on the second loop, and he ate quite a bit, so his gut sounds improved. Not that they were bad to begin with, but they did improve, and so he had A's on one side and he had B pluses on the other, so that was good. When we stood for BC, all of his recovery scores were great. I think we vetted back in at I think it was a 40 and then 46 maybe. He was really good and very cooperative. He was taking it all in with his little baby brain, and I'm excited to bring him back in the fall. I'm going to do my next 2 coming up in May. I'm going to take Mitchie, my mare, to those. So he'll keep on conditioning throughout the summer, and then he'll come back in the fall. For God's Country on the second day, because I like to do the 2-a-day event if I can, I took Mitchie, my mare, on a 35 mile. There were 4 of us for this particular event, and 3 out of the 4 of us completed. Mitchie and I did our first loop, which I believe was 18 miles. Did our 45-minute vet hold. She pulsed down super fast. We went back out on our second loop. She had great vet scores as well. She was actually recovering from her own injury a few weeks prior, so that's why I did a 35 instead of a 50. My vet said, let's try an LD first, and if she's good, then you can do 50s again. I came back in from the second loop, which was 17 miles that particular time. We were done fairly quickly as well, and she just rocked it out. We got second place in this particular one. Actually, we rode with the ride manager, and she wound up getting first. Her horse is amazing. I love Miss Mia. She's gorgeous and strong and just looks fabulous moving down the trail. And Cathie, the ride manager, happens to be who I used as one of my mentors because she's been doing this a long time. So I've learned a lot from her, which is something I recommend. If you're new to it, taking advice from more seasoned people than yourself, or at least hearing them out and what they have to say. So, which is another reason I love what I love about endurance. You just meet it's such a melting pot. You just learn so much from other people if you allow yourself to be teachable. But God's Country, I have loved it every year. It's gorgeous, and God's Country is absolutely 100% the right name for this ride. Because if you go there, it's a technical ride for sure. And if you're used to flat and fast, you need to train on some hills if you're going to do it with rocks, because this has got a few rocks in it. Definitely not barefoot friendly, but it is a fabulous, fabulous ride, and I definitely encourage you to check it out.
We pray for rain and thank Him when it's falling, 'cause it brings a grain and a little bit of money. We put it back in the plate. I guess that's why they call it God's Country.